because they probably had dogs too growing up or when they were raising their families, and because they're in the situation that they're in, they can't have an animal. So we bring it to them.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
That just hits you right in the heart.
That's what makes it all worth it.
It makes it all worth it. It does. And, other success stories where, the veteran will just say thank you and nothing else has to be spoken. Thank you.
So the training, I want to get into a little bit of the training process of these dogs. I don't know what the criteria is to be a therapy dog. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So I've seen certain therapy dogs when it comes to post-traumatic stress, especially for me personally, very early on, I had problems going into certain places. And I know military, it's ramped up. Certain vets, they're afraid to walk into a room. And I've seen other therapy dogs where they'll check the corners, which is kind of what they do when they clear a room. Mm-hmm. They'll check the corners. Is that something like this, what this is?
Our dogs are, the psychiatric service dogs, usually it's one task, and it's usually blocking. So we'll train that dog to block.
Explain blocking.
So block, the dog would go between your legs. So you'd give the command. If you're in a large room of people, like you said, sometimes that triggers that for the human being. And the dog will just sit between the person's legs and kind of like just calm them down. So that's one of the main things that we use is blocking. Now, that's for the psychiatric service dog. Emotional support dog, there's no such thing anymore.
They're all emotional support dogs.
But it's not legally, psychiatric service dogs can go anywhere and everywhere. Emotional support dog, you can go on the internet and get a letter from, Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I know that for a fact. They sell kits.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Our pet therapy program, they go through training, and then they're allowed to go to, hospitals and rehabs, but they can't go into hospitals. They can't go into, restaurants. They can't go on a plane. They can't go to, hotels, where the psychiatric service dogs, they can bring them anywhere they want.
So I got to go on a plane in a couple of weeks. What are the chances that I could be approved for this program? I'm not a vet, but I would love to be traveling with a dog.
Well, we also help first responders as well.
So it started with vets.
It started with It started with veterans and first responders.
Okay, so it worked both.
Yeah, we were doing both, and we weren't really getting a lot from our first responders, EMS, fire, police. So we kind of took that away from print, but like Arpy says all the time, someone comes to us, we're gonna help them.
Right.
We're going to do whatever we can possibly do. So we do have a first responder who their dog right now is actually in training. And so it's going to a gentleman who's a cop.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And, that was one of the things that during my times that was never offered to me. It was never even, I know I had a dog, and my dog was the best in the world. But just to give you an idea about my dog when I went through my shooting, listen to this. So my dog was a hunting dog. I'm not a hunter, but when we got dog from the breeder, they bred the dogs to be hunting dogs. Mm-hmm. So, and there's a protocol that they go through, loud bangs and stuff like this to make sure they're okay with all that stuff. My dog, thunder and lightning storms, stay perfectly still. If fireworks were going off, perfectly still. So after my shooting and things in my brain started to go haywire, I started to be very afraid of thunder and lightning, very afraid of fireworks, any loud bangs, anything like that. Guess what? So did my dog. My dog never shook during those things. All of a sudden, she starts shaking. And she was cool, though. She would sit right next to me. Whenever something bad was happening outside, or storm or fireworks, she'd sit right next to me. But she picked up on my behavior. Now, is there any fear of the dogs, after they're trained, picking up on some of the anxiety that these veterans or first responders have?
Yeah, there is that, fear. I haven't seen it, but dogs pick up on every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like children. They pick up on everything.
Yeah, they do.
They watch everything.
If they could talk, the first word would probably be a curse word.
Yeah, so they, we haven't experienced that yet, but I'm sure it happens, and we just don't know it.
I guess what I'd be afraid of is the dog regressing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think that would be healthy for either. Hypothetical situation would be one of your veterans or first responders calls you up and say, "Hey, listen, my dog's getting real anxious, real nervous when this happens." What would you do in that case?
We would direct them to the trainer who trained that dog, and so the trainer would then give them a call and meet with them and figure out if there's a solution on how to stop that dog from doing that. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just need a refresher in training.
That's what That
Yeah, I mean,
so you're always there.
You're
as the dog is their forever partner. You're forever their.
that's our
partner
goal.
as well.
That's what I want to be. Yeah, I want to be there for them as long as they want us to be in their lives. Like I said, I mean, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, but that's their choice. Mm-hmm. Like I listen. I have a long list of people that we've given dogs to, and I've called them, checked in with them, not every single week, but every couple months or weeks or whatever. Hey, how's the dog doing? Blah, blah, blah. How are you doing, most importantly? They seem to like that phone call. None of them told me to don't call me ever again. But then you're also getting the other side where they're calling me. So, like, I'm not always the one reaching out. It's kind of back and forth.
Have you ever had one of those vets who you gave those dogs to want to get involved in Operation K9 Beethoven?
Yeah, I mean, we have one veteran who helps us out, and he volunteers for us when he can. He has a dog named Sophie who's a boxer, and he lives all the way down South Jersey.
Because one thing about first responders and veterans, they're service doers.
Yes.
Okay, and that's how they show their affection. It's their love language, let's say. So for myself, and I'll take something like church. Okay, the way I serve in church is I serve them. I do things for them because that's how I show my gratitude. And I know there's a lot of first responders and vets out there. So it would make perfect sense where, you have somebody who is a drug addict. Well, when they get clean, they want to become drug addiction counselors.
Yeah.
Because they're service doers.
Yeah.
Now that it would make perfect sense. And now all of a sudden, where you start out with a couple people, now all of a sudden your family grows. And if you have a satisfied customer, they're going to tell 3 people. But if you have a dissatisfied customer, they'll tell 10. That's the downside to it.
Yeah. I mean, so we have that one veteran who does outreach for us, helps us when he needs. And we also have another gentleman, we partnered up with another organization in Jersey called the New Jersey Veterans Network. And we've known them for a couple of years, and we just recently partnered up with them. And so that gentleman, Doc, he has a therapy dog as well. And he goes to all our events. We go to all of his events. We help each other out. So he does a lot of work for us, and we also do a lot of work for them. So since we've started this, we've really grown. And we have about, on our the pet therapy program, probably about 10 or 12 dogs. We go to all different, motorcycle runs. We do all kinds of fundraising events, and they all want the dogs to be there.
Well, so that's
veteran resource networking places.
If you go to motorcycle runs, you'll see a large contingency of vets, and the reason for that is those motorcycle clubs. When you see the wild ones with Marlon Brando, they were all World War II vets. Yeah. They took their motorcycles home, and that's where they all sort of grouped up. And it's just continued. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Motorcycles and vets go together like peanut butter and jelly.
They are the most giving people. Mm-hmm. I mean, they really truly are. I mean, they're always about charity. And we've done a lot of those motorcycle runs. And like I said, they love to give.
Yeah.
Which is great.
So what's the costs involved? So you're a nonprofit 503c?
503, yeah.
503, I don't know. We're 501 with ours, but I don't know the difference, to be honest with you. But you're a 503c charity, so you rely on your giving in order to...
So donations and merchandise sales.
Right.
So from start to finish, from rescuing that dog, putting that dog through testing and for the vet and stuff, so start to finish, it's about $7,000.
Wow.
Per dog.
Wow.
And so we've been so blessed and so lucky that we've had so many fundraisers over the years and people giving, other organizations giving to us. And, we're also about giving back to them as well, so it's about $7,000 per dog, and there's no out of money pocket expenses that come out of the veteran. So all the money that we make in donations and merchandise sales and hitting the pavement and going to those shows and going to those motorcycle runs and selling our merchandise on the weekends.
Knowing that the merchandise is going to this cause, you're
Yeah.
not just selling it so you can advertise.
No, we're selling it. We're selling it so that money can go to. Of course, we want some advertising.
Of course, but
but it's also that all that.
It's
money,
not gratuitous advertising.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not. It's T-shirts with our logo on it and everything we do. We're all volunteers. Myself, RP Maureen, the entire pet therapy program. Those people are amazing. They take up their weekends and they go to places during the week after work. They're going to hospitals and meeting with residents there at the nursing home or the rehab centers. So it is very time consuming, but it's also a wonderful feeling to help somebody.
It always is. And that's where the true meaning of human life begins, is when and that's why dogs are always happy, because they're always helping people.
Yeah.
And once humans start picking up on that stuff, yeah, they'll get it. They'll get it.
They will. I mean, like I think I said it earlier. I said to you off camera that these nursing homes and these veterans homes that we go to, you're walking down the aisle, walking down the thing, and they're like, a little upset and everything. They put their head up and they see the dog. They don't know our names. They know the dog's names.
They know the dog's names.
Like you said earlier, walking down the street. It's, and that's what it's all about, seeing the smiles, seeing the sadness. I like to say happy tears. And seeing them, because they probably had dogs too growing up or when they were raising their families, and because they're in the situation that they're in, they can't have an animal. So we bring it to them.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
So I always wanted to bring my dog. I got a friend who's a World War II vet, D-Day vet, Battle of the Bulge vet. I always want to bring my dog down to him. He's such a great guy. Met the president the other day when he went to Normandy for the 80th, which was he'll turn 101 on September 4th.
My grandfather was in Normandy.
Yeah,
Navy, yeah.
And they didn't have any help. So I've said this a couple times on this show. We've had it's 400 and some odd years of peace in recorded history. So that's a lot of wars. That's a lot of death. That's a lot of trauma. And how people dealt with it, usually in unhealthy ways. I'm surprised that it didn't take longer for somebody to figure out this connection, because dogs have been around since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And I'm just surprised it's taken until, these organizations like yours, probably 30 years.
30, 40.
Yeah, 30, 40 years.
A little less, yeah.
And but what a great homage to your father, that you're now able to give back to veterans. You always try to honor those people that are special to you in your life, and that's pretty much what this is, right?
Yeah, it's just to help people.
Yeah.
I mean, our veterans and active and retired, they're going to war for us. The least we can do is say thank you.
Yeah.
Let me help you, because you're the reason why we're here today.
Mm-hmm.
You're the reason why we have the freedoms that we have that other places don't have. So I listen, I always grew up, wanting to help people, wanting to help veterans, and my father was that way too. He wanted to help his fellow veteran, his fellow man and woman. So I kind of learned it from him.
Yeah, the lessons, you're taught both good lessons and bad lessons from your parents. Unfortunately, I was taught some bad lessons from my parents, but I tried not to carry them on to my own children. But one of the things my children, I'm very, very, I watch my children around my dogs, because they've had dogs their entire life. And I watch how they react to the dogs. And that's how I know they're gonna eventually, they'll have their trips and their falls, but eventually they're gonna turn out to be good people, because they treat that dog as if she is their sister. And they make sure they say good morning to her, they make sure they say good night to her, make sure that they give her some love when they come in the door. And she's always the first one at the door, unless she's sleeping. She likes to sleep a lot. So I think that's the mark of any good person. So if you had a crystal ball and you wanted Operation K9 Beethoven to be this, what do you think it would be ultimately?
I want it to become place where veterans feel that they can come to us. And, you know, it's also maybe a goal that someday I'm out of business. Meaning that
We don't need these dogs?
the
Oh, the
government does more than they should. They don't do much.
No, the VA I hear is very,
Okay.
very bad.
And I think, you know, our government, our VA, has to do more. And I was actually having a conversation with somebody a couple weeks back that, like, the VA doesn't have these resources. We've tried to, like, contact them, and they don't take our phone calls. You know, is there ways that we can help? So for us, it's word of mouth. That's how we get to our veterans. It's one veteran saying, "Oh, I got this from Operation K9 Beethoven. Maybe you can do it too." Like, why isn't the resources there?
You
want to
know? You want to know why?
It's money.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's they do just enough.
Just to get by.
Just to get by. They do just enough. They're not really interested in healing. They're interested in doing just enough so they're not culpable of any bad side effects. And that's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
But one of the guys that I want to hook you up with is a guy named AJ Luna. We've had AJ in here. AJ, his nonprofit finds housing for veterans. Nice housing. Okay. He at one point his shining achievement is in Bergen County when he was head of Veterans Affairs for Bergen County. He had no homeless veterans. All right, so it was a big deal. Now he does. He's last I talked to him, he was head of operations for Veteran Affairs for Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Okay.
And that's my alma mater, so we have that little connection. But he's a very, very strong. He's a veteran himself. He's a very, very strong resource. And I think as far as getting the name out and doing the little extra, I think that's a match made in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be able to expand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we do service New Jersey, New York, metro area, Pennsylvania. You know, who's to say if we're ever going to go national? I don't know.
But as long as you're helping that one veteran, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I would like to stay small. You know, we have a small team. Our team has grown, obviously, over the years. But
and it will continue to grow the more good you do.
Yeah, and you know, we just want to help people. We want to. That's my thing. I just want to help people and you know, try to do the best as I can, so that we can make sure that our veterans, active and retired, know that we're there for them.
So, Brian, we're coming to the end of this thing here. Let's throw out some plugs first before we wrap this up. Why don't you give the website out again and any social media links? Sure. I want everybody to find you.
So it's Operation K9Beethoven.com. That's Operation K, the letter K, number 9.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We have a YouTube little channel thing where our videos are and what have you. And then we also have Instagram, TikTok. So we have it all. It's Operation K9Beethoven.com and Facebook as well.
And if you're watching the show and you find our social media, we're connected on there as well. Yes. So you'll be able to find it that way, or there'll also be a lower third below you, and it'll be in the show notes too. So anybody in need, they can contact you through there.
They can contact us through the website at Operation K9 Beethoven, and if any of your listeners are willing to make a donation, they can go to our website, or if they want to buy a T-shirt, they can go to our website as well.
And I'll be sporting my Operation K9 Beethoven T-shirt very shortly.
Very nice.
Probably tomorrow. So we're coming to the end of this thing here, and we always complete the show in much the same way every time. Now, you have witnessed a lot of suffering within the veteran community and the first responder community, and you chose to take a stand and change that paradigm. But it's had to teach you something. Now, what is seeing that suffering and being able to do something about it taught you?
It's taught me that we need to help more people, and it's been a very gratifying experience because I like to see happy tears. You know, there's nothing better than when you know you impacted somebody's life, but they've impacted your life more than they will ever know. So seeing the smiles and the happy tears and the faces light up is why we do what we do at Operation K9 Beethoven, helping veterans one paw at a time, as well as our first responders.
Did you ever feel selfish a little bit? So things that I do, where I'm helping. Somebody will come up and say, hey, you helped me out during that stuff. And I kind of want to tell them, I'm like, you don't understand. It's kind of for me because it makes me feel good to help somebody else.
Never. No, I mean, I have my moments when I'm by myself or
Well, no, when you get that little rush of when you help somebody, you're like,
oh,
I did something
yeah,
positive today.
You do. I would be lying if I didn't. But yeah, it makes me smile. It really, truly does. And we're not here for the accolades. We're not here for the patting on the back. And it's just, we just want to help people. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it. And you're doing a good job at it, and I look forward to making sure. I want to make sure I'm kept in the loop of anything
Absolutely.
you're doing, any events that you're running. If you ever need me, you call on me because since you've been in here, you are now family.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Brian, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming in, and I can't wait to see where you go.
Thank you.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the suffering of K9 Beethoven with Brian Reyngoudt, and let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Today may be forever, but tomorrow's never promised. Unconditional love heals. Crying happy tears is very okay. Homages can come in many ways, but most importantly, dogs take time, but trust me, they're worth it. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're now on Rumble. And, of course, go to Mike's OnlyFans channel. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And, of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode.